Hey there, welcome to the Eurostep, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN, and presented by our pals at Prize Picks. I am one of your hosts, Ti Windisch, joined as always by the immaculate Rohan Katti. Rohan, how's it going, sir?
Doing well. I wish I had my immaculate cards right next to me so I could
Oh
use
man, that would have
those.
been, I didn't even think about that connection. Have you calmed down over your stash rage? We potted last night too as the Bucks drafted my guy Bogoljub Markovic, and you went into a fury toward the end of the show, and the report from Gavoni and ESPN was they're going to stash him. We've got an update there, but have you calmed down?
A little bit, but I still share that same thought. Like I haven't changed my opinions on that really.
Okay,
But if you want to hear our live reactions
uncut.
to the Bucks, yeah, to the Bucks draft pick, make sure you check out the last episode on the feed. And if you're watching on YouTube, check out the podcast feed.
On the audio, exactly. So here's the news at the presser, which was Milt Newton for some reason. Not that there's anything wrong with Milt Newton, but not Bucks GM Jon Horst was the point there. The concept of stashing, of course, came up, and Newton's response was basically like, "We haven't determined that yet," which I think from kind of one of your issues was, why have that determined going in? It sounds like they don't. It sounds like that is kind of open to seeing what happens. They did confirm Markovic will be playing in Summer League, which starts for the Bucks July 10th. That schedule came out today. So we'll see him in just a couple of weeks here playing some, ridiculous basketball, but still we'll get a look at him. And I think I'm okay if they end up stashing him, but I do prefer, I'd prefer if he was on the roster, but two, I would prefer, and it sounds like this is going to be the case, just like get him over and have a look, right? Like, is he ready to play spot minutes? Maybe I think the anticipation is no, but like how far off is he really? I think that's part of this determination as well. And it seems like Markovic wants to be here because well he's already here. So sometimes the guys don't even show up for the draft if they're going to get stashed. And he was actually here last year. Did you pick up on this? The Bucks worked him out prior to the 24 NBA draft. He was like an early entrant and then pulled out. But they actually showed clips of like him working out then, and I guess that was one of his first NBA workouts. So Milwaukee's had their eye on Markovic for years now.
That's good. They also Milt Newton said that they were thankful that he fell into their hands.
Said
Like
they
it's a guy.
looked at jumping up a little to get him,
Yeah.
which they always
As we
say, I
talk,
think. But
yeah, they always say it. We always had so many deals in play, which is probably true. Like I don't want to say that, but it is always the
yeah,
GM speak, right?
I mean, you could have sent
Uh
cash and 47 to get up to like probably 40 if you were really concerned, and that's a pretty low leverage asset. Although I think they would have to wait till next league year to finalize that trade. Maybe that's a little messy if you want to get him in the building right away, because I think they used all their cash at the deadline.
League year starts
Regardless,
Tuesday.
I know these are valuable days here with Bogey. He prefers to go by Bogey, by the way. So if you're afraid of his name, listeners, Bogey Markovic, you can handle that one. I
The
think
Bucks
Bogey
finally
is
got
fine.
they finally got Bogey.
I know. I had that thought last night too. I'm like
They
drifting to
finally
sleep.
got him.
I'm like, finally, we got. Hopefully, this one doesn't get taken away as well.
Yeah, what, 5 years later?
Yep.
Yeah, around 5 years later, because that was the summer off season of 20. Yeah,
Yep.
crazy. Um, but yeah, I think of what Milt Newton said about not sure if they're going to stash him or not. That's so much better
Yeah.
than just that initial Gavoni report of that he's going to for sure going to be spending another year in the Adriatic League playing for Mega. It's get him in the building, see what you've got, right? And I'm still opposed to stashing him because one, you want to see what you got, and you're not going to know right away. You need to be able to see him in constant competition with guys like Tyler Smith, with guys like Chris Livingston in camp, first and foremost, to see who's one going to make the roster. I don't think all three of those guys are making the roster guaranteed. I don't
No.
even think two of those guys are making the roster guaranteed.
Yeah. If you count stashing as not right, not being on the bucket, which it isn't. Yeah, I think one or two is most likely, and one is certainly more likely than three. I think there's no scenario where all three of them are on the Bucks opening day. They'll be on the camp roster, but not on the opening day roster,
Not a
or not even camp
chance,
on the
right?
summer league roster. I don't. Will they all be on the
No, they'll
summer league
probably bring
roster?
him to camp.
Well, camp is a lot later,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
they'll
I don't know if they'll bring
they'll
him
be
to
in
camp.
summer league.
Yeah, they'll be at summer league for sure.
But you just at least have to see what you've got.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
These are very low, like Chris Livingston, non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
Tyler Smith, minimum contract. It's you need to see what you've got in order to maximize that roster and see what you can do. Is Bogey currently better than Chris Livingston? Maybe he
Yeah.
might be. And if that's the case, there's no like sorry to CL, but there's no reason to keep CL on the roster if Bogey's currently better, right? You just need to be able to see what you got, and you can't do that unless he's here, right?
Yeah.
Playing in summer league, I'd like to see him in camp too,
Yeah.
and just see what you got. Just see what you got.
The other piece of this is don't make the
Can we talk a
decision
little bit
now.
about Bogey as a player for like a minute?
I think this is the last thing on the stash. We talked a lot about it yesterday. It's just sound process to not make the call before you see how your roster shakes out. Like Trent Jr. came in as a vet min like a week after free agency opened last year. Like why make a determination on a roster spot if you don't have to, when you can go through and just be fluid, and maybe you end up and you're like, yeah, we could roster him and Smith, and that's fine. Maybe you're like, okay, we have a lot of guys we like bringing in. We have some second draft guys, whatever, retaining guys, and we don't have a spot. So I just like being fluid. Let's talk about Bogey the player. What are your thoughts? I know I was kind of the first one to tip his name on this pod, and I was just really like, I think he's fun. I think we both done a little bit more, I guess, digging from there. What's your updated Bogoljub take?
I think he's a good project, right? Like I think it's a good pick. Like to be clear, my issue has always been like I say always, like it hasn't been like less than 24 hours, but my issue has been with the stash element of it, right? I think it's a good pick. I'm actually a very big fan of this pick because you're taking a swing for the fences. And what else could you do with number 47 overall? Right? Ideally, in an ideal world, like you've been saying, you're getting a guy who can contribute right away, like prime Aaron Nesmith on a second round pick contract, right? That's what people might say is an ideal. That is unrealistic, completely unrealistic. Can you find a guy who can maybe give you like 5 to 7 minutes a game? I think that's a possibility and way more realistic. And while Bogey might not be that guy, he could because he has some of these skills. He is a very, very talented offensive player. He knows how to see the floor. He knows how to play well. He knows how to do things with the ball in his hands. Has good shooting touch. He can drive to the rim. He knows how to do that. And he'll make those decisions and those reads fairly quickly. Is it as quick as you would want? No, but that's because he's 19 years old, just about to turn 20.
Yeah,
it's a low floor, high ceiling type pick, which is what you want to do if you're the Milwaukee Bucks and have like if you're only picking the draft as number 47 overall, right? You have to be able to like say, hey, is there a chance this guy can actually be pretty darn good? I think Bogey has like there's that chance.
Well, and I think there was some uproar, and I'll talk about him as a player too. I want to shout out Bucks Breakdown. I think we bring up every other damn pod at this point, but as a really good thread of a bunch of film, a really good thread of a bunch of film. If you want to really see what Bogoljub does, you can go check that out. I just reshared.
I think they spent the entire night watching Mega Film.
It's a lot of clips. I was scrolling down from like one of the bottom clips. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm still scrolling. Yeah, shout out for real. What was I even saying? Oh, the uproar was about, oh, you didn't get someone who's like ready to contribute. And I think here's the disconnect. And I kind of got at this last night, but I think I was tired and I didn't make my point. I kind of just poo-pooed the 47th pick overall, which you should go in thinking it's more likely than not this isn't a good NBA player because 50 of them don't come out of every draft, right? Like the odds just aren't with you. That said, I like the pick as well. I liked it right away. And I think there's just a fundamental difference between, could they have picked someone who is more ready to play right now? I will say maybe, not yes. I think they could have certainly picked someone who's closer to their own personal ceiling than Bogey is right now, but that doesn't mean they're actually better. Does that make sense? Could they have picked a 5-year college player? Tyrese Proctor, I think, was like the most prominent one who went right after. Sure. Like, we don't know if he's really an NBA player right now or ever. That's an important distinction. I feel like some of the reaction, it feels to me, people thought, oh, they could have just taken like a wing player who can be a two-way wing player and could like slot in as a starter or as like a key bench player. None of those guys were left. after pick
No, like
33,
Sion James and stuff, like those are gone.
That's
Yeah.
where he went, I think. Like that was the last one where I was like, he's ready to play right now. They could have traded up to get Tiero. He might not ever be an NBA player. I don't think he is right now. He's not really a shooter. Like he's a good defender. That wasn't a player who you look at and you go, oh yeah, as a rookie, he will slot in and play a lot of minutes. Those players are not in the second round for the most part. And I think by this point in this particular draft, which it's important to note, a very thin draft. Half the early entrants as other drafts because of NIL. A lot of these older players stayed in school for the extra year. So we're seeing, I think we're going to get a couple smaller drafts before they obviously run out of eligibility. But this was not a draft where they just had that, like there wasn't a Malcolm Brogdon on the board who it's like, oh yeah, that guy can for sure play. I don't think when you look ahead. Maybe Tyrese Proctor ends up awesome. If you listen to our pre-draft pod, we had Bryce on who was with the Upside Swings pod and was like, not sure that guy's really good at anything. So he might not be. He might not be an NBA player. We'll see. But I just want to say
there's like a random chance. There's a random chance.
Yeah.
Like looking back at all of these drafts and all of these second round picks that have happened over the last, let's even lower the sample size, over the last 10 years. I'm not even going to say like the history of the NBA, like 10 years. There's probably like one or two guys in each round or in each draft in the second round who turn out to be legitimately good players. And it varies by position type. Like, are you a 4-year college guy? Are you a guy who is just like, didn't want to go back to school, an early entrant, something like that? Like it varies, right? It's honestly just kind of random. I mean, it's not random. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no way of there's no specific science to it. You can't say, oh, I need to draft this 4-year, 5-year college guy because he's definitely going to be ready to come in and play. That's not the case.
No.
And the thing is, and this might be a segue, maybe not, you can get those guys on 2 ways.
Let's wait a second because I want to talk about the player they got to. But I just on that note, and I hope we're not doing this to death, but I think this is a function of the Bucks only having 47 overall. So there's just a lot of hype and expectation about their draft or what they could do with their picks. And they just used the one. They didn't move up or anything. Like if you want to be more mad about last year's first, AJ Johnson with Terrence Shannon on the board, right? Or other players too. Like, I think that's more fair to criticize that process because, like, okay, there was, and we were low on Shannon. He looked really good in the playoffs. Didn't really do anything all year leading up to that. We'll see with him as a player. But
they were non-project players, guys who were more well-suited.
Yeah, I mean, it's pick 23. There's first-round guys who were, like, probably on some people's board in the top 20 who were there. That just wasn't the case at 47. So I think going with the higher ceiling guy who you think, if this guy pans out, he could be a good NBA player, not just like a 12th guy on a roster NBA player. If you see all the vets on the board is like, I don't know, maybe he's our 14th guy, but he's going to start that way and end that way. You know what I mean? Like, that's not worth it. Like, so I just want to clear up that notion. Like, I think this is a really good pick actually at the spot. I don't know if you saw this. I shared, I was going to do a bit and go see because people do draft grades for every team. And I was like, oh, they're probably going to be low on the Bucks, but they only use 40. Like, I'm gonna be jokingly outraged that they didn't like the Bucks' 47th pick. KOC gave them an A+. He had a first-round grade on Bogoljub. He's like, they crushed this. And somebody else, I forget where now, Bleacher Report, our friends at Bleacher Report, B+, I think, for the pick. So there's a general consensus of like, yeah, this is actually a fine flyer on a player. So to speak on Bogoljub, right now, to me, and this is like a lazy scouting because they both won the award you mentioned, the top prospect of the Adriatic League, which some previous winners are Dario Saric, Nikola Jokic, Nikola Jovic, Nikola Topic. If your name is Nikola something, you have a pretty good shot at winning this. But Bogey won it too this past year. But I kind of feel like he could probably be a lankier Saric out of all those players. That's the one I think
that's ideal, right?
To. I just think like how he plays, like he's probably a more perimeter focused Saric. Probably won't be as good of a rebounder because Saric was just, not to be rude, a heftier guy, a bigger guy. I think
he's still in the league.
Okay, I mean he's hanging on, and I shared too like the list, and I got a little bit of like, oh, some of those guys aren't that good. If they got, I mean, I don't know we haven't seen Topic yet. The worst player I named right now is probably Saric. Or Jovic,
no,
I guess
probably
Jovic.
Goga.
Oh, yeah, Goga.
Goga was another winner.
Goga was another one. If they got Goga at pick 47, he's not a center, but like a rotational level forward, that's a great result. That's a great result.
It's an incredible result.
Yeah.
So good pick overall.
Yeah, but I think he's like could be like a lankier Sarge. Like I don't think he's going to be a great defender ever. I think he has more chance of guarding wingier players than like a center. Like I don't think he'll be able to play center. He gets moved a lot right now. I mean, he can get bigger and he probably will, but I think he is more of a perimeter-y guy. I like the Aldama comp from Vicini, I think it was last night. Feels like a good comp. Like you'd look at his measurables and think center, but he's just not. He just isn't. Or you'd look at his height and wingspan, not his weight. But that's okay. I know the Bucks have a couple of these prospects now, but that archetype pairs really well with Giannis. So I don't think this is like a dumb position to be targeting. Like if one of him or Tyler Smith hits and is a good stretch four, that's really valuable to have with Giannis long term.
100%.
But yeah, I think it's a good pick. I'm excited to see him play in Summer League. I'm really excited for that. The last note before we get to Sears, Mark Sears, who, spoiler alert, they got after the draft on a two-way deal, the decorated first team All-American guard from Alabama, super senior. The process. So the idea too, there was, why are we taking guys who are 2 years away? I don't mind it because they've basically done it 3 years in a row. So it's kind of like a pipeline at this point.
Yeah.
Livingston 2 years ago, Tyler Smith, and the dearly departed AJ Johnson last year, alive but traded. And now Bogoljub. It's like there's kind of like this young pipeline of like it's not going to be super exciting where they're not all playing like this coming season on the roster, but they're just taking one of these swings every draft in the second round.
Like an actual young core.
Yeah, like I think young. I almost don't want to say young core because it's like young core to me implies they're all going to be playing.
I was gonna say, I just you're naming these guys, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound great.
It's a farm system, though. It's a farm system.
Yeah.
Every year you take a second round pick.
To use another Milwaukee sports thing, you're just getting bites at the apple.
Literally, I don't think that's a bad way to approach the second round. Especially,
no, not at all.
This one was 47.
It's a bad way to approach a baseball organization.
I'm actually coming around. We don't have time for this on this pod. With the randomness of MLB and how bad every single expensive player I want the Brewers to sign ends up being the very next year, maybe they're doing it right. I don't know. I might be Mark A-pilled. Every time I'm like, they need that guy, I check that guy's numbers this time of year. I'm like, is this OPS negative? What? Wait, what? He was an all-star. It's insane. I don't understand baseball. But Livingston was what, 59 or 60. Bogoljub is 47. Like, go for it. If they hit, great. If not, I think it's relatively low stakes. Tyler Smith, 33, more of an argument, but I still really like Tyler Smith, the prospect, and I hope we do see him this year.
Me too.
So I don't think Tyler Smith is necessarily. I think there's a world where he's able to play this year.
I think so too. It all depends on how free agency shakes out. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about the first free agent news. Actually, technically,
the Sears catalog
is Mark Sears. So Mark Sears, first team All-American out of Alabama, was a super senior, I believe.
Yep, five college years.
So he is already 23 years old. He can score at all three levels. He can play out. He good shooter. Really showed up in the tournament. It's like there's just the one thing, and that's we're both taller than him.
Yeah,
listed at 5'10" at 3/4 at the combine, I think.
Yeah, so he basically is going to play at 6 foot. Then usually get 1.5 to 2 inches from the shoes. So that'll hold you back. Same, and I know there was. I think the Bucks worked out Ryan Nembhard, Andrew Nembhard's brother, who actually led the nation in assists. Like I was kind of intrigued with him as a prospect like this on this level as well. But is also like 5'11", I think, barefooter. Maybe I think under 6 without shoes. So that's obviously going to be a huge limiting factor. I'll say this on Sears. I love just getting in and seeing the guys who have won at the guard position in college. Because I just think sometimes there's certain something about a gutsy guard, a gutsy lead guard that I really like. And that Alabama team has been damn good. He's been a big piece of that. He's been a prolific scorer. He was second team All-American last year. And then this year was first team All-American. Last year, he had an effective field goal that led the nation at 60.4%, which is pretty absurd. This year, it dropped off. He went from 43% from 3 to 34%. So that'll be something to watch, definitely. His 2-point percentage dropped as well. But all that said, like I'm just in on this 18-5 assist guy in college last year, nearly 2-to-1 assist to turnover. And I think probably your worst case outlook here for Sears is you get a very competent lead guard for the Wisconsin Herd. And that's not, I'm not saying that in a pejorative way. Like that's a useful thing when you're using this to develop and get looks at other players. And if he ends up,
100%.
if he can contribute at the NBA level, that's great. I wouldn't even have that expectation. I think this is, and even Summer League, right? Like we've seen, was it last year the Bucks didn't have a true, no, they had AJ Johnson last year. Was it 2 years ago? Remember they had no guard play, and Summer League is just like all wings, and it's terrible. No one
It
can
was
do
awful.
anything.
Summer League is tough to watch on its own, but that was some of the worst I've ever seen.
Literally worth, and this is, the cost is nothing. A two-way spot that was open. Stanley Amudes was not a 2-year deal. Nance and Jamari Bouyes were 2-year deals. But as you said before the pod, like these are totally flexible. There's no guaranteed money. You can swap in and out whenever. Just having him for Summer League is going to be helpful, I think.
I think so too. He's a guy where it's like you're basically taking another Ryan Rollins shot, right? You're getting a young point guard, see what you got, and it's like a 5th, 6th, 7th option probably, but it's like you know your starting point guard is out for the entire season with an Achilles injury. So you need to be able to have some point guards in the building, and why not start with a 2-way?
Crazy stat for you here. You'll love this after your Gary Trent one. Mark Sears is older than Ryan Rollins.
Yep, of course he is.
Mark Sears is 23. Rollins turns 23 on July 3rd, so coming up here. Hopefully he's celebrating a new contract with the Bucks to ring in year 23 here or year 24 upcoming for Rollins. That is crazy. He's also older than Livingston, Tyler Smith, Bogoljub. He's older than a lot of these guys. But again, though, like that's a benefit of if I don't know if all those players will be with Herd, but like other 2-ways or anyone that they bring in, having someone who has been on huge stages at Alabama, who has experience as a lead guard, is valuable. So that's I think expectation wise how I would look at this. And hey, if that pull up shot is like ridiculous, maybe he can be a bench player who comes in and is just like a bucket. I mean, at that height, we have seen players in the league have success of just more like, can go get you some buckets, keep the score turning if someone else is sitting or if your starters are out. I'd say that's probably the ceiling here. I don't think you could ever really start
like
at that height.
Is his realistic ceiling like Cam Payne?
Yeah, that's not bad.
He might realistic ceiling.
I feel like he's tough for his height, but I guess Cam Payne is too. I wonder does Cam Payne have a longer wingspan?
Right, I bet. Mark Sears is tiny, man.
Yeah, 6'2" wingspan. I was worried you were going to say Isaiah Thomas. Obviously the best short guy of our basketball watching lives.
Yeah, I've even seen people try to say like, oh, it could be Jalen Brunson. No. Like, come on. Like, give him some credit, man. Like,
are Brunson's measurables actually that bad?
No. Brunson is listed at like 6'2" or something. It's not nearly as bad.
6'1" without shoes. So then gets up to almost.
It's got 3 inches on it.
Yeah, with shoes. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, obviously you should never compare an undrafted super senior to Jalen Brunson anyway, but yeah, I like the campaign. I think is even a little taller, but that kind of player, right? Of like bench guard. That's the ultimate upside. He might not be that, but I do think the floor is like competent. I think G League point guard for sure. It's just a smaller.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think like, and this kind of proves our concept or proves our point and shows a proof of concept for what we were talking about with the 47th pick. Take a shot because with these, you can get guys who may be more quote unquote ready to contribute.
Yeah.
After the draft.
Yeah. Here is the 5-year college player with a ton of seasoning. If you did want that, we can see what he can do. It would not surprise me if Bogoljub looked like a more effective player in Summer League, even with the less years, just because it's a lot easier to be a successful basketball player when you're 6'11" than when you're 5'10". God, he's almost a foot taller.
That's crazy.
That is nuts. Could do some fun side-by-side picks. But that's all we've got so far for 2-ways. At the moment, I think the others will be Jamari Bouyes and Pete Nance. At least Nance is over with Giannis right now, so maybe some job security for him at the moment. We'll see. Had actually a nice last game 82, so good for Pete Nance to build on that and get the Greece invite. But we will do our free agency kind of overview what the Bucks can do, and then we can talk about some of the names we would like to see either brought back or brought in, as well as some scuttlebutt around the league. But first, our friends at Prize Picks, baseball season heating up. We talk about it. We don't know much about it, but it's still fun for us to play Prize Picks baseball, just like it's fun to play across women's basketball, soccer, tennis, Call of Duty. I'm just scrolling through it. It just keeps going. I just got the app up, and it's got everything. MMA, boxing, Power Slap. What can I do with Power Slap? Total slaps. Not going to do that. Hot dog eating contest, Korean baseball, Japanese baseball, NASCAR, F1. I mean, darts, cricket, lacrosse. They probably buried cricket too much. That's a pretty popular sport.
Every season's a good season for Prize Picks, but summer is where they really turn up.
This is crazy. Badminton, Counter-Strike 2, League of Legends. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And even at the very end here, what's fun is there are already Prize Picks for NFL, for the Philadelphia team against the Dallas team. So Prize Picks is on top of it. There's always something to play. But speaking of baseball, for the Milwaukee Brewers game, we could say I think Kyle Freeland is going to get less than 3.5 pitcher strikeouts. I think the Crew are going to rock him. I'm actually a little worried about the way the Rockies play. Maybe they won't. But and Jose Quintana, more than 5 pitcher strikeouts. He has been absolutely dealing lately. Just an example of some of the plays on Prize Picks. You could also do Christian Yelich more than half a base. That is a goblin time, easy, light work for Yelly. I mean, there's so many different options. Hits and runs and RBIs combined, hitter fantasy score. If you really want to go big, homers, those are all demon time. But if you have a really good feeling about William Contreras breaking the slump, or Christian Yelich staying, or Josh Conchurio staying hot, either of those guys, Prize Picks is the way to go. Super fun way to spice up the sports or esports that you're watching all summer long. So use the link in our description, or just go ahead and download the Prize Picks app today. Use code EUROSTEP, which I will show on screen now, to get $50 when you play $5 for the first time, win or lose. That's promo code EUROSTEP on the Prize Picks app, where you can get $50 the first time you play a $5 lineup. Whether you win or not, the best deal in the galaxy right now. Prize Picks, run your game. Free agency. So I wrote this primer. It did well. Thank you, people who read the primer on Substack. I'll continue doing stuff like this. But here's the very fast breakdown for audio. The Bucks, because they're under the aprons, they're going to hard cap themselves at the first apron. They can use the mid-level exception, which is 14 point something million, I think $1 million. They can use the biannual exception, which is like 5.1 million. They can make more flexible trades. All of this, doing either of those things, hard caps them at the first apron. That's fine. They have plenty of room under it right now, even if they want to bring back like a Bobby Portis on a bigger number, which we've talked about and we will again right now. They can do that and still have these spending opportunities. And a key piece of news today, news reiterated again today. Jim Ozarski has been reporting for weeks in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that there's a belief that Gary Trent Jr. can be retained for the $8 to $10 million range in year one. That is actually really important because the MLE is not limited to one contract. So if Gary, let's be optimistic, if Gary signed for $8 million year one, it could go up 5% year over year, 4 years max. You then have another $6 million contract you could give out, which is significant because that's like double vet minimum, and that's higher than the mini MLE that teams above the first apron have access to. You also have the biannual, so that's another $11 million split into 2 contracts you could give out to bring back 2 other players, whether that's KPJ or outside free agents. So even at $10 million, a $4 million MLE remainder is still more than like any vet minimum team could give out, or it's on par, I'd say, with like the biannual exception. The Bucks can be players in free agency, even if you allocate some of those funds to Gary Trent, which I think they should. They have some real options here to bring in some intriguing players in a pretty flat free agency class.
Yeah, it's some of the most flexibility that the Bucks have had in years to be able to operate in free agency, and it comes at a very, very important time for the Bucks. So just having that is so important. And like you were saying, gives them an advantage over some of these other teams, right? To be able to sign, especially if Gary is re-signing at that number. But yeah, that's so important. But that mid-level, that biannual, it's so important for the Bucks to be able to sign them, because the last time they had this much flexibility was when they signed guys like Pat Connaughton, Brooke Lopez, and then went and built a core that eventually won a title.
Portis.
You have that ability to yeah, you have that ability to retool now, and the Bucks better take advantage. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and I said this going into the draft. I mean, the draft, we hoped for more fun, I suppose. Well, one last draft note. I don't think any of the trade ups for the players we were really excited about in the first were realistic for Milwaukee. I think it would have taken like all of the future capital. If you look at what some of those teams gave up to move up and get into the first round, even moving up like 10 spots, it was very expensive. So, but that obviously they didn't do anything crazy. They took Bogey, who we like in the draft. That's fine though, because free agency was always going to be where they made the most moves with their roster spots and financial flexibility. So let's put Trent aside, because I think we both agree.
And there's also, just for context, there's like two teams with like real cap space in Brooklyn and Detroit.
Yeah, and Brooklyn just drafted 5 ball handlers, so I don't think they're going to be competing or signing big contracts. So, and it comes down to Detroit, and Detroit literally made a statement of like, we don't want to make a big splash, which like, okay, losers, but whatever. That's good for the Bucks. There are sign and trade options, but the Bucks can play in those too. They have the TPE for about $7 million from the Middleton trade, so if someone either makes less than that or sign and trades for less than that, the Bucks could take them in without sending out any money, which just gives them more options. They could also do like a double sign and trade, or like sign and trade a Brooke Lopez out to bring someone in as well. So a lot of options once free agency opens on Monday at I think 5 p.m. Central. But let's put Trent aside. We both want Trent. I think I would give him the full MLE, but if you can get him for any fraction, absolutely. I would literally, like, I'd do not a blank check, but like a blank contract of like, all right, Gary, put in your like whatever your starting number is, great. Put in your years and options, however you'd like it, and we will sign the deal. Do you want to hit free agency again the next year and us re-sign you? Great. Do you want to lock in 4 years? Totally fine. Whatever he wants to do. I would guess there'll be an option after either 1 or 2 years, but we'll see. Where do you want to go after Gary? It's been a while since we talked free agents. In your semi-realistic world, what would after Trent's done, and let's only focus on the non-bird rights guys for now. So not Rollins, not Portis. Like who do you want to see from a different team? Put it this way: sign with the Milwaukee Bucks.
I think you would need to sign a point guard
Yeah.
at least right away, right? You would need to be able to sign someone who can come in and provide solid point guard play for the Bucks, because they are without their starting point guard for basically the whole year. And I know we're not going to talk about Rollins. Spoiler, I'd prefer to re-sign him.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
looking
we can
like
say that we'd both prefer to sign him.
Yeah. But it's looking like a little bit of a tough guard market. Like all of the smoke and all the noise is that D'Angelo Russell is going to be signing with the Dallas Mavericks,
Yep.
who also are going to be without their starting point guard for a majority of the season, who actually just signed an extension in Kyrie Irving. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Bucks can do. D'Lo's a guy we both kind of had circled. Who's probably likely not going to be an option for them. So you have to start.
The crazy thing is they only open up the mini MLE. So like financially they would be competitive for him with part of their MLE or even the biannual. I just think Dallas, I guess, is a cleaner fit. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's
I was gonna say I guess Dame comes back this year, but I think Kyrie does too. So
he comes back earlier.
Yeah. That's kind of odd. Maybe they're not interested. The Bucks aren't.
He got injured earlier and has a less severe injury.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of odd.
But you get into it, it's kind of a tough market. And this is why we discussed a lot of trades. But since we're just talking about free agents right now, the one guy I've been really looking at is like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's not a traditional point guard type, but can he play the lead guard spot and just defer to point Giannis a lot? I think that's an archetype you could look at if you are Jon Horst and Milt Newton in that front office. Because, you're really feeding into that point Giannis things. You're getting a point of attack defender, someone who could take some pressure off. and you'd still have in this ideal scenario some like Ryan Rollins get back, but then there's also like some guys who are less likely to be attainable. I mean, I think Nikhil Alexander Walker is probably not attainable.
Yeah, he
He's
might be a
with
full MLE guy.
exactly. So with whatever they sign after Gary or have left after they sign Gary, I don't think he would be enough. Some other guys who I don't think would be enough are like Dennis Schroeder, who's probably going to re-sign with the Pistons.
No, there's new buzz. You have been busy
Oh,
this week. The Kings might offer him full MLE,
oh my goodness.
which is terrible. I just love this because they're like, they had too many point guards and they got rid of all their point guards. And they're like, oh my God, we need a point guard. Let's give Dennis Schroeder $60 million or whatever the 4-year MLE is going to be. And now we should actually trade Zach LaVine, it turns out. So insane franchise. But yeah, I marked him as red for that reason.
They're like, what are the Suns doing? Let's replicate that. It's clearly working.
I think the Suns have a better outlook right now than they do, which is absolutely insane. But and then the other, I don't know, you know about this one, but I'm marking guys in red who we get like rumors about. Aaron Holiday also is apparently re-signing. Not as good of a player as the last two, but another one you could probably take off your point guard board, staying in Houston.
Yeah, he's confirmed staying in Houston, right?
I mean, I think so.
As confirmed as you can be.
Yeah. So
some other guys who are probably not realistic. James Harden, probably not realistic. Though that would be so funny. I think it'd be incredible.
I'm assuming he either opts in or opts out and resigns.
Yeah, he's a $36.3 million player option.
Yeah, I mean he's not. There's you don't.
He's not getting that AAV again.
You don't leave that to go sign a biannual 2-year $11 million deal.
No, and then you kind of get into the realms of like Chris Paul. I don't know.
So that one's interesting because the Mavs were the team that we had heard for him, and he's obviously not going to sign there on vet min to back up D'Angelo Russell. I mean,
but it's probably he's said he wants to be in California with his kids.
Yeah, well, he said that, but he signed in San Antonio the year before, so
it's fair. Well, he said it now even again.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe he wants to go to the Kings as much as anyone wants to. I guess if they.
I was just saying minimum with the Lakers.
I mean, do you take minimum with the Lakers or $5 million with the Bucks to start? I don't know. I don't think he starts on the Lakers.
Do you want to start Chris Paul?
If Dame is out.
Yeah. I guess.
High floor player, even at 40. Probably good for Rollins to have around. God, think about Rollins learning from Rondo, CP, and Dame.
Crazy.
It's a pretty good crew. I know people hate him because of the Giannis thing in the finals, which I understand if you're just against it for that reason. That's just Chris Paul, but at least he'd be on the Bucks side this time.
There's also the fact that he's Chris Paul.
There is. I'm notably not a fan of him as a person, but I think in terms of just options, it's hard to say there's many better than him.
Yeah.
Jared Butler, team option, declined by the Sixers today. Some people might not have even heard of Jared Butler. Kind of a low-key young guard, but pretty damn good shooter. Moves the ball pretty well.
Yeah. But I think it's important to say these guys because these are the types of guys that the Bucks are going to be able to acquire in free agency.
Tyus Jones
at the point guard position. Tyus Jones? Do you say Tyus or Trey?
Tyus.
Okay, because Trey Jones is also a free agent.
That's the Hornets one?
Bulls after the Spurs trade.
Who's the Hornets one?
I didn't even know there was a Hornets one.
They have another Trey point guard, I think.
That's Trey Mann.
God. No, there's another one, isn't? No, you're right. Terrence Mann's the one who just got dumped to the Nets.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
But like Trey or Tyus Jones, I would take.
Tyus struggled last year, but I think if the price is right, aka maybe Vetman again, I would give him a chance.
I mean, I'd probably prefer Trey because he's like 4 years younger.
Yeah. Just see what you've got. He's unrestricted.
I mean, he is unrestricted. If the Bulls want to keep him, they have his bird rights.
Yeah, but they're probably going to give Giddey a big contract, and they still have Ayo and Kobe White too. Like he just ended up there as part of that LaVine trade, right? The LaVine Fox deal. So I don't think a player they necessarily targeted. I mean, if they want to keep him and send over Ayo or Kobe White in a trade, that would work for me as well.
Yeah. That would also be great for me. But I think like Trey Jones is probably a more realistic,
Yeah,
and Tyus Jones are more.
why haven't I looked into Trey Jones at all? That's a good name. 25 years old. Bucks could offer him a big role.
I
That's
just
the
don't know if he's that good.
well, that would do it.
That's the thing, right?
That could prevent him from being interesting. I thought people
But
liked him a little shorter on the
yeah,
shorter side, as will happen with them. But
Tyus is better.
39% from three last year, but seems to be a very up and down shooter. I mean, a backup guard to be sure, right? And that's probably what you want
Yeah,
with Tyus too. Come
yeah.
in and
Where
move
it's
the
like I
ball.
think the only starting caliber guard I think you could get is Nikhil Alexander Walker, but I don't even
I
think
mean,
that's attainable.
D'Lo's deal isn't done in stone yet. I would probably say he's on that list, and I would add Schroeder, who I think again is probably gone, and Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is still just
Brogdon.
barely. I don't know, man. Somehow Brogdon is more washed than 40-year-old Chris Paul, which is pretty crazy. The injuries.
It is
That's
kind of
that's why.
insane.
Yeah, there's not many. So I think, and then obviously there's KPJ as well, who could be a guy they use part of the mid level on. And I mean, frankly, once we get down to, I think the Jones brothers, I would take over KPJ, but like he's better than Jared Butler or I don't know players
Yeah.
like that.
And if we're talking about like KPJ, my prediction is that he goes to the Kings. I think they're
Oh,
just like trying it out.
that'd be interesting. Sign and trade, do it, Sacramento. Send something over.
Levine.
If they sign and trade to KPJ, well, that's all here. That the issue is the Bucks. The Bucks can't really do a big sign and trade with him because they don't have his bird rights. They'd have to use like the MLE. I think it gets really messy. So they
Yeah. And
actually that's
also
not
Zach Levine
realistic.
makes a ton of money.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you could send him with Kuzma, but it doesn't really work.
No.
If you could sign
Hmm.
KPJ to like 12 million and sign and trade him, but I don't think they can.
No, I don't think they can either. So it's kind of it's we were talking about what's the next step after Gary, right? And I
Yeah,
wanted a point guard. It's kind of bleak.
yeah. I mean, do you just run it? What would let's ask this question. Let's put it this way: what would your satisfaction level be if next season the point guard rotation just was what it was post Dame injury? Rollins and KPJ in some order.
Probably a little disappointed because I think KPJ was kind of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't think we're getting that level of efficiency again as we saw in the postseason.
Yeah,
Like it just completely fell off a cliff. It was always unsustainable. So I'd be a little upset if he can do that in limited stretches. Maybe sure, fine.
yeah.
They got away with it once. We were so like it was insane that they did get away with it
We
post
kept
Damon
waiting for the shoe
injury,
to drop. Yeah,
but it's like it can't possibly continue.
yeah. I think my issue with it is like the athleticism he showed is real, and he was a nice pairing with Giannis on the pick and roll. I think my issue with him is the mid range was just falling at an unsustainable clip, and it started to fall off. And his three ball was too. And if you look, like after even the hot start with the Bucks, his last season 3-point shot ended up for Bucks and Clippers being like pretty much exactly where he'd been the last couple of years, which is to say not that good. So that's that's it's just like I don't think the shooting is sustainable, and if it's not, then it's just like a nice player, but probably also a bench player, which we're big fans of Rollins, but you don't ideally want to have him as your starting point guard to start a year. I think my ideal scenario would be they find a vet to pair with Rollins, but I'd say like KPJ Rollins as the point guard rotation would be like my like bare minimum kind of baseline of like, oh, that's fine, I guess, but it could be problematic for them. But it did work the second half of last season with Dame out.
Yeah, it'd be disappointing, right? Like you
Yeah,
have these all of these options, these availability, this flexibility, and you didn't make any real improvement.
yeah. So you mentioned the trades. Is it finally time to trade Colin Sexton to the Milwaukee Bucks?
I think it is.
The
Watch
Jet,
this space, Ty.
the
Watch this space.
the Jazz are running out of
Also, no,
spots.
sorry, no one Russ, right?
Yeah, no, it's just there could not be a worse fit with Giannis.
It's just like I think Russ is fine, But what are you doing putting him next to Giannis?
Yeah, it
Like,
doesn't work.
watch some basketball.
It just doesn't work.
Exum's a guy I've had my eye on a little bit.
I don't even consider him a point guard, really. I think
But he fits. He's like we have Naw at home.
Yeah. Just as like one of those off-ball players. I think now that they're out of aprons, they could actually trade Connaughton and like a Livingston for Sexton if the Jazz didn't want to take on Kuzma in the longer contract. I struggle finding a better guy you could slot at the 1 next season, of course, some sort of Dame comeback, than Colin Sexton.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'm trying to think of like who else would be. I mean, you could. I guess I don't know. Do you want to trade for one of their other guards? Do they want to send Keontae George away? I think Sexton's better.
I think Sexton is better. You need a mercenary, right?
Yeah.
You need some guy to just take some starting minutes and just try to build up his value. You want someone to try to like bet on themselves for a year.
I've got a sneaky one where it's not exciting, but I think it is a lot more stable than many of the options we're discussing.
Alrighty, let's hear it.
Dinwiddie?
Yeah, that's the guy I was kind of hesitant to bring up because I'm like, it'd be so annoying.
Yeah,
it'd be so annoying.
And he's kind of just, to me, he's like what if Schroeder was a little less annoying but also worse,
and maybe more annoying.
On court, I think Schroeder is more annoying. Off court, it's a conversation.
Is he still getting paid and whatever that was?
I believe so.
That's so funny.
How do you feel about this? Not a point guard, but a guard kind of in the Naw Exum range. Teams keep paying to get rid of Terrence Mann on that contract, sending Pat Connaughton for Terrence Mann and an asset. Now that Pat's a true expiring, that's like kind of teams don't really care about taking him on anymore. No, sorry, Pat. I'm a Terrence Mann fan. I'm on board. I think he can play a bit. He signed like a 15-year per contract for like 3 years. But instead, he's just younger. He's more athletic. I think he's got some juice on the ball. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too high on Terrence Mann, but that feels like a value opportunity for me.
I think it's a fine option, and that's kind of where it's like free agency kind of dried up, and you're like,
yeah,
oh man, what can we do? Can we get Terrence Mann? Can we bring someone in the building?
I mean, the issue is probably a lot of just overlap positionally with like Trent and AJ Green. But if you're just like, hey, the point guards aren't good, like we're just gonna play a 1 point guard and 3 shooting guards with Giannis handling a lot, I think that could work.
Yeah, another guy I'd love to take a shot on is Fultz.
Markelle Fultz. I like Fultz too. That would be a fun, like a Fultz Rollins point guard room would be like the widest floor to ceiling variance probably of anywhere in the league.
You never know every Bucks game would be very interesting.
I have no idea what you're
going to get.
I'm a huge fan of that flyer though.
I've been on that for like we both actually been on there for a few years now. It just never materialized, but maybe it will this year.
This could be the year. I'm in on that. Yeah. I like that option a lot. That's a great shout.
So after point guards, where should we go?
I mean, small forward.
Yeah, you need a wing. The Bucks probably only have 1 3 on their roster, and it's Pat.
Yeah, so, I mean the next like Ajax and Kuzma get shoehorned in there. The more you look at some of these lists, it's like, should that just be Taurean Prince and you just don't play him at the 2 this time?
I've been thinking a lot about this. We've done had a few discussions about free agency, and we've never once really said, hey, the Bucks should re-sign Taurean Prince. I think Taurean Prince is a good player. I think he was completely miscast and misused this entire season, which led him to not be, as effective as he could be. He actually pre-Kuzma trade deadline, I think he was pretty good. And then you just have him as your starting 2 guard, and it just falls apart.
He was so maligned for a player that ended up top 5 in the league in 3-point percentage. Like, I know the volume isn't high, so there's less value, but there is still value. I mean, it's still a good thing. I think he can defend threes. Like,
I think so. I think he can defend threes. He can defend 4s. Just don't have him be a 2 guard. Don't have him chase point guards around. It's insane.
I think if next year, let's say they find a point guard somehow, and it's a point guard. Let's say Sexton. I think that's the most fun, or like at least in tight. Like, fun's a good word. The most fun option. I don't know if it works great, but it is fun. It's exciting because I think there is potential there. He's produced in the league. If their lineup is Sexton, Trent, Prince, Giannis, Portis, do you think they can defend?
Say that again?
Sexton, Trent, Prince, Giannis, Portis.
I think they could.
I don't think Sexton's actually a bad defender. I think he gets that.
He's
sometimes.
just tiny.
He's like 6'3".
That's pretty.
He's a point guard. I mean, that's a point guard size player.
I know, like exactly, but it's like if there's always going to be a weak link, it is going to be your point guard.
Yeah.
So, in most cases, I think it's fine. I think you can get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to,
I think you would have like some versatility defensively. You'd have guys who can just D up. So who's guarding the opposing team's best player? Is it Taurean Prince?
Depends, I guess, on what that player's size is.
Yeah, it's either Green or Prince.
Maybe it's Sexton if it's a guard. He's like young, athletic, the young bull. I love the guy who plays 3-on-5 in college.
Yeah, but that's also like 7 years ago.
Well, 3-on-5 doesn't come up much in the NBA, but I'm sure he'd do it again if they gave him a chance to.
Yeah.
I don't think he's some great defender. I do think he's
like
kind of
you know what that reminds me of? Not to just blow up your spot right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
But like it reminds me of Suns fans tweeting out Jalen Green highlights, and none of them are in the NBA. It's all like prep school highlights, and I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
he's been in the league for a few years, and not a single one of his NBA players made this highlight reel. Get out of here.
So I guess they're keeping him. Would you trade Kuzma and Connaughton for Jalen Green?
Yeah.
Do you still re-sign Trent?
Yeah.
If you could, would you swap that from Trent at $8 million to Naw at 14?
No.
No?
No.
A little more defense to go with Green?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't. It doesn't sound like they're trading him. How about this? How much would you give Bradley Beal?
How much would I give Bradley
Beal? If they bought him out.
A minimum?
I would give him
another more than $50 million.
Well, it's like a set-off thing, so like he'd probably agree to some amount of a set-off. So then that would kind of determine.
Cool, it's a minimum.
What do you want to sign?
You're getting bought out. You sign for the minimum, especially when you're Bradley Beal.
I would give him a mini MLE. Well, that's Phoenix would buy him out because they could agree like we save $5 million this year and you can go sign for $5 million and then get your whole amount back.
Yeah.
I'd give him the mini ML. That's a good player. 18-4-4. Like, that's production.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, look at the other out. It's like
you're right.
Oh, actually, I have one more point guard who I'm seeing. The Heat might cheap out. Davion Mitchell.
I didn't bring him up because I assumed that the Heat were going to keep him.
No, there's like some buzz that like maybe not even offering him the restricted free agency thing because of how their books are.
No qualifying offer?
Yeah, I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I saw there was like, oh, maybe the Heat won't do that to keep some cash free for whatever else they're going to do.
Huh.
I'd
take Davion Mitchell.
That would be a day one for me. Like kind of a small guard, but that's a dog defender, and I think his 3-ball has come along too. Like Davion Mitchell, Rollins, just all right. We're gonna full court press your point guard 48 minutes a night.
Yeah, we're gonna take you completely out of it. We're gonna make you burn a lot of the shot clock, and we're gonna make your life hell.
Yeah, 39% from 3 last year, 36% the year before.
Yeah, he kind of fell off the map in Toronto, and then when he ended up in Miami, things kind of. He seems like a perfect Heat guy. I don't know why they wouldn't keep him.
I'd be surprised. I'm gonna assume they do still, but if he ends up available, that would be a good buck. Like
100%.
I like the let's throw 2 defensive terrors at the other team and see Javon Carter and the TPE as a last route point guard option. What if you get
sorry to friend of the pod, Javon.
What if you get like a 2nd round pick?
Maybe then.
That's probably realistic. I think they just want to get rid of him. I think if they paid the Bucks, and if we got to a point where it's like, okay, we signed Rollins, KPJ signed with the Kings, let's say, and all those other. So it's like, Oh God, it's Monty Morris is who we're looking at as the second point guard, and then it's like, oh, we'll give you Javon Carter and a second round pick. Like, okay, sure. That's bad, but that'd be like a emergency option for me.
I get that. I get that. But we got sidetracked. We were talking about wings.
Yeah, not a lot out there, which is why we were like, yeah, maybe Torian Prince. I saw a graphic. It was like the free agent wings, and it was hilarious because it was like LeBron James, one or two other players, maybe just one, Torian Prince. TP was either third or fourth, and if you look at the players you're defining as a small forward, it's kind of hard to argue, man. There's just not a lot out there. Like, maybe Karis LeVert counts, but more of a shooting guard. Same with Luke Kennard. And that's the issue. The Bucks, hopefully you bring back Trent. You have AJ Green. There are shooting guards here. You could size them up a little, but ideally you want some size. Kelly Oubre? Oh, he's got a player option for $8 million. He's probably opting in, I would think.
Yeah. One guy who's like probably out of the Bucks price range, and I'm just surprised that he's going to be out of the Bucks price range, is Dorian Finney-Smith apparently might be opting out of his contract.
Yeah, kind of surprising. I mean, maybe more guaranteed money he wants to get over the course versus just 1 year, but that is a little surprising.
$15.4 million player option.
Yeah, I guess he thinks he's getting full MLE somewhere or re-signing with the Lakers. That is surprising.
It's that one kind of threw me because I was like, it's odd because I was like, one, I didn't think he was going to be available, and if he is making himself available, the Bucks aren't going to be able to afford him.
Yeah, not with Trent, and I wouldn't pick him over Trent either.
No, me neither. But yeah, you're right. This list is not great. I mean, you get like Jayshawn Tate's off the board with the Houston Rockets re-signing him.
Do you really want to give Jayshawn Tate minutes? Like, I think if you sign Jayshawn Tate, the goal should be like, this guy can play if we need, like if someone gets hurt or something. I don't think you want to be like, yeah, this is a top 8 guy for us.
Yeah, and these guys like Trey Lyles, it's like he's not a 3, he's a 4. The Bucks need a 3.
Zaire Williams.
It's pretty dire, man.
I don't even know if Zaire Williams
is why
is
I'm
good.
like one Torian Prince, maybe welcome back.
Darvin Ham, come through.
Is Pat going to be in the rotation?
I assume. I think he's going to battle Ajax. Like, are they going to play Kuz there? I don't know.
Is Boss Man going to come back and fight you?
Oh man, let's squash the beef on the pod. Boss Man officially invited to Eurostep. Let's squash the beef. Doug McDermott is like the 6th highest player deemed SF on the Spotrac free agent list. This is just by what they made last year, so it's not like how good they are, but it's bleak, dude. Like, I think Ajax is better than almost every player on this list. It goes LeBron, TP, then Ajax. Not really, but not that far off.
Yeah, it's not great. It's a really bad free agent class.
Yes. It's just flat. So, like, you could find a couple guys who are okay, but there's not many, like, oh, that's a starter caliber players. And the ones who are going to be... If Gary signs for $8 million a year, I'm sorry, the agent should probably be fired.
Gary's agent?
Yeah, like, it's good for the Bucks and all. I mean, I would just take the full MLE, man. Like, props to him if there's, like, some altruism involved. But if you really think your market isn't full MLE when you look at the rest of these names, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not looking to gift horse in the mouth, but kind of crazy decision making.
Here's the thing. I hear Bull's not going to be re-signed by the Suns.
The fact that he can't even shoot. I always thought he could shoot. I think because of 2K, he can't even shoot. Thankfully, power forward, they're good, so we can skip that. Giannis, Bogoljub, and Tyler Smith. Center is the other big one because the Bucks have big guys, but they are. I mean, Bobby Portis Sunday is his player option deadline. A real decision for Bob. There's been no word yet, and I think if he opts in, it would be to extend, or could obviously opt out. And opt in would be great because that gives you a lot of first apron space. It's only like $13 million, so that would be good, and then extend more from there. But either way...
Yeah, he would have to opt in and then extend later, right? It wouldn't be able to extend now.
He might be able to do it right now. I mean,
I'm not sure. Someone correct me.
When you're expiring, you can almost extend whenever. When not rookie scale, which he's not. So I think he could do it pretty much right away. I'm trying to think, did anyone do that? Did Kyrie opt in and extend?
He opted out.
He opted out and re-signed and agreed to resign.
It's typically an opt out and resign.
Yeah, you can do it either way. But we'll find out by Sunday. Maybe we'll find out 5 seconds after we hang up, which would be sad. And then Brook Lopez was not extension eligible because he was only a 2-year deal. He's just a straight up free agent. What
I think we're both at a point. I think we're both at a point where we are not in the market for re-signing Brook Lopez because the Bucks need to change up what they do offensively, defensively, and become part of the modern NBA.
Yep.
And when you have Brook Lopez as your starting center or an option, who probably would be the starting center if given that it's Mr. Rivers at the helm, it's at a point where it's kind of like his number should be 11, shouldn't be worn by anyone again.
Yep.
But he shouldn't be playing for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Sounds like there's a real market. So this is a sign and trade potential. I think Bob is too. I think if you're going to lose Bob, which I don't think they should, but if you are going to, it's got to be a sign and trade. You cannot just let these guys, Brook, maybe you can. But I think ideally you're able to sign and trade both, or at least one of them if you are losing them, to get some value back. And a Lopez sign and trade that brings back some sort of player who you could slot in at one of these spots, given like just how thin so many positions are, would be incredible. And I think that would be like alongside Gary signing, and I think like Rollins and Bobby re-signing, a Brook sign and trade is about one of the best pieces of news I think you could see on as the free agency opens on Monday.
Yeah. I think it's really like the Warriors and Lakers could be options for the Bucks and sign and trade possibilities with Brook Lopez.
Yeah, I saw a mocked like Bob for Moody and some sort of draft capital.
I saw that and I was like, the Bucks would be stupid to not do that. He was kind of insane.
And I think Big Bob is a good fit, but Moody.
I think the Bucks should keep Bob.
Moody, I think it's like maybe a little small to be a 3, but like a pretty good player who was obviously drafted pretty high, and I think has real runway to be another second draft guy from the Warriors, which has worked well for Milwaukee in years past with Rollins. So I'd be all over that. Like I heard the Bulls are looking at centers and maybe want to move on from Vucevic. Do they want Lopez for Kobe White? I'd be all over that too.
That would be the most Bulls thing to do.
That would be.
We need to move on. We need to move on from Vooch. Who can we get? Brook Lopez.
We need another spacer.
Would be hilarious.
They need a spacer for the Gidster. So got to get Brook Lopez.
But also, he's just a little bit better than Vooch. Now I'd say they're kind of on par.
Yeah. I think by next year. Well, Vooch is 34 too. Vooch could also fall off a cliff, but
they're like the same. They're like the closest caliber of player to each other in the league.
It would be insane. Bulls. I would love it if you spend assets to go from Vucevic to Lopez. Would be amazing. Crazy. And it would be good payback for the Bucks too, who I think had to pay more to Lopez on this deal because of that Vucevic deal.
Yes,
he set the market. True. He set the market, and then Houston got involved. Houston, I'm gonna say probably out after the Adams extension.
Yeah,
you can't have Adams, Şengün, and Durant, right?
No, and Brook.
Yeah, and Brook, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
So I think the biggest point here is from the Bucks' perspective, you're just not bringing back Brook.
No, and I think if you can get a player for him, that's ideal. I mean, the Blazers love centers. Would the Blazers give you something?
They have 5 centers. It's
I know.
Crazy.
Maybe they'll give you 2 of them. Time Lord and 2-up Reith for Brook Lopez. Boom. I'm probably good. I don't know. I think I'd rather have neither than either.
Ooh.
I talked myself into Time Lord. He immediately got hurt again. Also,
he did.
Huge fumble by the Blazers to turn down second-round pick offers for Time Lord, who's now their 4th center?
5th, I think.
I think I'd tell him 4th. Young, Ayton, Klingon. Probably not in that order. Time Lord and Reith. They have 5 centers under contract. And Time Lord immediately got hurt after again. Probably is a negative trade value now. Huge fumble for the Blazers. Yeah, I don't know where else necessarily Lopez would go. Pistons? Would the Pistons rather have Lopez than Beef Stew, or would they rather have both? I don't know. Probably would rather have Beef Stew, I would think.
I think so. I think it's part of the reason why Brook Lopez is probably not going to be a Buck. Is she's just time's finally passed him by.
Yeah. What if he goes to
And
the
then the teams.
Celtics?
And then he'd turn into
Get
I
the
don't
get
even
the
know.
deer antler spray connect.
Yeah. And the teams who are reportedly interested in him are teams that have not found a way to have time pass them by yet in the Warriors and the Lakers.
Yeah, I think the Rui thing is just not going to happen, but that would be I would love to get Rui Hachimura back, even though he's weird positionally. Like, I think I trust him more to play the 3 than Kuzma.
Oh, 100%. Even though he's been like a 4-5.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think we both want Portis back, unless if the right sign and trade is there, I guess. But usually there's not that much value recouped in sign and trades. I'd be a little surprised. Would you do it just for Moody? Forget the pick. Moody for Lopez.
Yes.
It depends what your plan is, man.
I think you take the young guy when you can.
Let's look at the scenario, though. Let's look at it. Doesn't have to be that. Any scenario where Bob leaves, and we don't want Brooke back. Maybe that changes for me a little bit. I'll say if Bob is gone, maybe I'm open to like the minimum. I don't know if Brooke would be. Jericho Sims. And we want him back.
Sims, I do want.
I want him back, but not to start.
Not to start, which is why my ideal is having Bob come back and Jericho Sims. I think, like I was saying with Moses Moody, and by the way, whenever it's the draft and the best thing Perk has ever done is it's the best thing. I watch it every year and I watch it 10 times and I laugh so hard every time. It's the funniest thing that Kendrick Perkins has ever done in his entire life. And that includes that video of him dribbling up the street.
Dude, like, he's got beef with Bill Simmons now?
I did. It's wild.
So funny.
But that's like one of the greatest things. It's the only good thing Perk has given us in terms of basketball analysis is the Moody clip.
Moody.
But like I was saying with Moses Moody, you take and keep the young guy when you can. And that's my thinking with Jericho Sims. We've seen him in a limited sample be a springy center who can switch, he can stay on the perimeter, he can be a good shot blocker, he's a vertical threat, vertical spacing threat, and the defensive lineups with Giannis, you're not going to be able to score, but neither will the other team. So it works out. Like, they are just locked down defensive lineups, small, very, very small sample size. But you see why it works. You see just having these two just insane athletes who have good defensive instincts and good rim protection skills just play together, and it works. It works really well. So I think you have to. I think it should be a priority to re-sign Jericho Sims.
Yeah, and
he has his full bird rights.
Yeah, full bird. So I should have said this up top. So those exceptions we talked about, you only need those if you don't have bird rights on a player. So they have early bird on Rollins, full bird on Sims, full bird on Portis. If he does opt out, you can re-sign those guys to whatever you want and still have your exception dollars. But like, they don't have any bird on Trent or KPJ, so they would need to use exceptions or give them the minimum. The one thing you have to keep in mind is you are hard capped at that like $195 million first apron, so you have to make sure you stay under that. I'll give you some center names if they lose Big Bob, because I'm with you, and I don't like how alike we are this offseason. Maybe it's just an obvious path, but my preferred Rollins and someone at the point, Trent and Green at the 2, Prince and Ajax, and hopefully you find an upgrade at the 3, but it's hard. Giannis and I guess Tyler Smith at the 4. Kuzma is still here at the 4. And then Portis and Sims at the 5. If Portis leaves, or I guess if Sims leaves, Clint Capella?
Clint Capella, I think, is probably not a good option at this point. I mean, he's still all right. He's still a good rim protector. It's just like, you lose, you still have the same issue where it's like,
yeah,
is he going to be able to play in the playoffs? Probably not.
I think he can play, but just limited role. A fun one, actually, a recent one, Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams is interesting to me. I think it's kind of redundant if you do keep Sims. Like, how many young centers do you need who are not fully developed?
Well, I think they're opposite play. I think Jalen Williams is a shooter, though.
He's
so you get a different look.
He is a better shooter than Jericho Sims.
He
There's no
shoots.
denying
He
that.
shoots. So
He does shoot. I don't trust it at all. I
really,
don't know what it is. I just don't trust. I don't trust the outside shot from Jalen Williams. J. Will.
39% this past year, 36.8 the year before, 40% the year before, 2 to 3 attempts per game as a bench player.
It's I don't know what it like. I've seen those numbers when I was thinking about a J. Will, and I'm like, I just can't get past it. Maybe it's just a me thing,
I think
and I
I
should
don't
just
know.
trust the numbers.
I think the
But
biggest
also,
issue is he's small.
something about it. Yeah, that's also part of it. But it's like something about his shot where it's like, ooh, I don't like this.
I'm
It's
intrigued
like
because
Ajax. Do you think Ajax is a good shooter?
if the percentage keeps going up, I'm just going to say that he is. He posted pictures of the ugly shot for him. People are like, oh, I'm like, you know what? Keep it up. If you're going to shoot 39%, make it as ugly. Slop him up. Like, you don't need to be guarded and you don't need to do pull ups. Like, if you can hit open threes at 39%, that's fine. The other thing with Jalen Williams, to be clear, not the guy who had the 40 ball in the finals, the other one. 2.6 assists to 0.7 turnovers last year in 16 minutes. Like, he's really dishing the ball. And OKC's not exactly like the Pacers, right? Like, it's not like this is like just some swing offense where everyone has a bunch of assists. The interesting player, and the reason I name him as an option, they have 15 guys under contract for next year. Him and AJ Mitchell are the two with non-guaranteed or team option years. And they just drafted Thomas Sorber, a really intriguing center from Georgetown, at 15 overall. So I think it just makes logical sense to move one center in, one center out. Maybe they do something else, but if Jay Will is available, like I would send a pick, a second round pick to get him. I wouldn't send the first, but if they want to do like a opt in and trade into the trade exception, I would do that, or I would sign him outright to the mini MLE. I think he is a good player, and I think would be he'd have interest in the Bucks in this world with no Portis because he's competing to start next to Giannis, which is obviously a great position.
Yeah, I think it would be a good flyer to take.
He's going to turn 23 this year.
Yeah, very very young, very good flyer to take. Maybe I was being too harsh.
Well, I'm probably too optimistic because he tore up the Bucks, and I'm one of those suckers who you see that and it's like, damn, they should get him. He had a really good game against Milwaukee after the IST.
Since the Celtics are trading everyone, I don't even want to say it. I hate this dude.
There's two of them.
I know, but there's one I really hate.
I think I'm good on Horford. It's just like I saw some of the same people who are like they need to get rid of Lopez because he's too old. Ask for Horford, who's 2 years older.
Like, and also fell out of their rotation and
he's
is
39.
Just not the same
of
player.
Course he fell out. Like no, I'm good. I mean Cornette I would look at actually had some interesting numbers. If they don't keep him, former Buck during COVID, but the center list is pretty dire too.
Yeah, it's just not a good free agent class, which is why
I'll give you one more.
Temper your expectations, Bucks fans.
I'll give you one more. If they keep Miles Turner, Thomas Bryant had some pretty nice playoff moments.
He did until Tony Bradley came back.
It was like a matchup thing. When they had rebounding troubles, they played Tony Bradley.
Yeah. Which is why it's like,
Next to Giannis, Giannis can do some rebounding. It's not perfect. Vet Min, though, he could do worse.
B-ball Paul.
Yeah, they have the Bassey's a free agent. My guy Bassey, I think he was hurt, but he's available. I'd take the
Biz as a free agent.
The ship might have sailed on Biz. I know I said Chris Paul earlier, so I'm full of it. But
the ship's been dismantled.
But I generally would like the ages of players the Bucks acquired to start with a 2. That's kind of one of my things. Now, how about not a 3? Then Chris Paul still qualifies because it starts with a 4. Perfect.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis is 32. I'll make an exception for Big Bob.
Yeah. The guys coming in, you want to be young.
Yeah. Generally, yeah.
But I think the best possible outcome is keeping Bob and Sims.
Yeah, or something we don't see right now. And I think that's true for point guard most of all and kind of small forward. I would imagine there's going to be some trades ringing off across the league, sign and trade and otherwise. That's probably the Bucks' best avenue here. I think you got to keep Trent, and then I think you'll be able to find like one other player who may surprise us of like, oh, they could get that guy for that money. Like we think he can actually come in and play. Whether that, is it surprisingly D'Lo or just someone else? Like I think Bruce Brown is available, like someone like that. And you're like, oh, okay, that's a good option. But I think to really round up this roster, they'll probably need a trade. Or two.
I think so. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I know this is a free agency primer, so that's why we're mostly talking about free agency.
They're kind of combined though.
Yeah, but it's really tough given the free agent class to be able to have more like very fluid options. Like you have flexibility to sign different guys, but after like one or two, you're kind of done.
Yeah, unless you just like maybe you're rounding out depth, but in terms of rotation guys. I'll give you some teams to watch for trades. Everyone that made a bunch of picks because you only have so many spots. So we already mentioned OKC for J. Will. Portland kind of has a lot of players right now.
Yeah, they have 5 centers.
Would you do Kuzma for expiring Ayton?
No, man.
If Bob leaves, I think that's actually a pretty good center option. I wouldn't.
I don't hate it.
Mercenary Ayton. I don't know if that's legal. You might have thrown Pat, which is fine.
I just wish he was better.
He might be good this year. I've heard in expiring years he's actually damn good.
Oh, he contract year Ayton shows up.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of his someone was bringing this up, like when he was first drafted, someone asked him like at his presser, like, what do you consider a successful NBA career? It's like getting that second contract. So it's like what? Before he even started playing, he became a contract year merchant.
Generational wealth, mission accomplished. DeAndre Ayton, congratulations. Yeah. 26. I mean, that is
it's a good mission.
Like, if you got him, like maybe it goes well and you give him like not his current number, but like a lower deal after. I don't know. How about this? Would you rather get Ayton or Jeremy Grant?
Ayton.
I think Ayton too. Jeremy Grant slides into 3 pretty well. I'm almost interested in Grant for Kuzma and Connaughton. I'm almost interested in that.
How much is left on Jeremy Grant's contract?
3 years is the issue.
Yeah, that's the issue.
He's 31 now, so that turns pretty bad. That turns into just like, oh, you have to trade him again somewhere. So I think you'd actually.
That's why I say I literally said Ayton because he's expiring.
Yeah, the flexibility and the age. He's 5 years younger. Assuming he and Doc make up, PC in like a second for Tybal, it's actually kind of intriguing. I think they have big.
Who just opted into 17?
No, 11. 11.
11. Oh.
Yeah, it's not bad. Only 11.
I don't know. Just can't read.
The Nets have a lot of guys obviously coming in. They're not going to give you Cam Johnson for free. I already mentioned Terrence Mann. Maybe you could get one of their forwards. Like, I don't know if Vincent Williams is any good, but probably he's going to be available. They just cut Maxwell Lewis, who I think is not good. Probably not worth discussing here. But the Hornets just drafted 4 guys. You know who I kind of like? Josh Green.
Josh Green? I don't hate Josh Green.
Kind of, again, stuck at the 2.
It would have been funny. It would have been funny if the Bucks could have gotten Mark Williams, who apparently goes for 2 first-round picks after a failed physical.
I think he's broken. Yeah, I saw a lot of like, oh, the Lakers offer was more. Yeah, they rescinded it because they thought his back was busted. Like, of course.
And then the Suns gave up 2 picks. It's insane.
29 and a future first, and I don't think is a good future first. But it just made me funny. It made me laugh.
It's 2 first-round picks.
I know. It's an okay. I don't think he's that good, but it just made me laugh that the reaction was like, wow, they got way less than they were going to. Yeah, I mean, he failed, of course. there was new information.
Think it's way too much.
No, I hear you. I think it's a lot too. They didn't know they were going to get Malawatch. They didn't want to cancel a trade. Grant Williams, can he play the 3?
Can he play?
Is he recovered? He should be. I think that was kind of early last year. They might cut or they might dump a Kogi.
Question.
How about a Kogi?
I would be a big fan of a Kogi.
The shot fell off last year, but also the team was worse. That's a variable. So then it's
just a menace. A minimum. Take a flyer on him.
But I'll ask you the same question. Would you rather not just play Ajax? That's the question with guys like this. That's where I was excited. I tweeted eye emojis. Richie Randall does a great job covering the Hornets. Was like, yeah, Kogi could be cut or traded. I was like, oh, and I was like, I don't know. I'm undecided on that.
I think it's Kispert, like if things dry up. Corey Kispert, I think, is good.
Marcus
I don't think he's
Smart.
going to be. I don't think he's going to be attainable for the Bucks. Corey Kispert.
They just have a lot of guys now. A lot of young
They
guys.
do.
They don't put him in the
You know
young
what's
core
crazy?
tweets.
You know what's crazy? AJ Johnson could be.
Tyler Smith for AJ Johnson. Start at the point guard this year. Rental.
Wouldn't even be a rental. You'd have his bird rates.
No, I mean the Wizards rented him.
Oh, the Wizards rented him. Okay.
Tank Commander rental. Would you trade for Marcus Smart at $21 million?
No.
Would you sign him to play point guard if he got bought out, which I think is very realistic?
Yes.
That interests me too.
I don't know if he can really play that much.
I would give him a shot for Vetman though, which I think is your point.
And that was going to be my next point. Yeah, is like you give him a shot at Vetman.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more there. I'm trying to think of who else used like a lot of picks or
Chris. Buy out Chris, please.
I feel like they're going to hold him till the deadline and see if he can stay healthy. But yeah, obviously that would be there's your three. Chris Middleton back. And hey, if you're more athletic around him, maybe it could work. And the Kings, the last one, the Kings are a fire sale. Let me throw a couple at you. Levine? Question mark?
A lot of money, like we just talked.
I don't think they can get there. Like Kuzma and Pat is not enough.
No.
And I don't think like, and then all your other salaries like Livingston, who's like a minimum. Yeah, that still is not enough. That's $4 million away. So,
unless you want to include like a KPJ sign and trade.
Yeah, sign and trade with Kuzma, which is like a messy trade. But if they had the money and the other like Dame, but I just think let's put that out there. We're probably too late in the podcast. I don't think Dame is getting. I don't think that's realistic. Next summer.
Next summer is what more realistic.
Expiring, hopefully healthy. They have 3 firsts. They haven't used any. Like that's interesting. But yeah, Levine may just be a little too expensive currently to trade for.
Yeah. DeRozan, we've talked about before as a stopgap kind of scorer. I'd take
Keon Ellis. How much are you giving up for Keon Ellis pick wise?
Not much.
You're not a Keon Ellis guy, defender. Maybe play at the 1.
I do like Keon Ellis, but I don't think it's like if you're going to cash in some assets, I don't think it's for Keon Ellis.
What do you think the price is for Devin Carter, who they want to unload? That would be a fun. Don't call it a gap year point guard flyer. He was basically just hurt, and now they want to get rid of him.
It might just be a fake second, honestly.
Like PC, I think they could do a minimum for him now that they're out of the harsh trade rules, or maybe you could. Oh, TPE, you could take him into the TPE.
Yep. I think it's fine.
I would take that flyer.
Yeah, take a flyer on young guys.
First round pick 1 year ago. If they really give him up for free, I saw Malik Monk's name too. Probably their worst position of need. Like if they want to do Kuzma for him, that's how I feel about DeMar and Monk. I don't know DeMar's old. I said no old guys, but if I could just swap Kuzma for them and not really give up anything, I would do it.
Yeah,
Kuzma and cash.
Maybe the Kings aren't a good trade partner.
They just drafted a center. How do you feel about Valanciunas?
Not good.
Really? I think it's very, very solid. Very replacement level.
Not young enough. Not athletic enough.
Fair.
If you're the Bucks, you just can't sign and trade for guys
who
are older and slower. You just can't do it.
What if it was just Pat, just to get off? They just want to get off his money. Still no. You'd rather give it to Jalen Williams or something.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think
they're very old actually. When you look through this roster,
unless it's a guy who's like a proven scorer like DeMar or like will fit a clear position of need like Chris Paul, you should not be bringing in anyone who you don't think can play in the playoffs.
Grayson Allen.
You need to bring back guys who are sub 27. I don't know. It's just arbitrary and fast.
Grayson Allen.
Yeah. I mean, probably not, but
they want to get rid of him. He's expensive now. They gave him a big contract.
I know, my son.
17 mil this year.
Nothing from it. I didn't get a single dime, but I'm proud of him.
Would you swap Kuz for Grayson?
No. It's a position that they don't really need.
Yeah, I know. I think there's a lot of 2 guards in the NBA right now. It's kind of problematic for a lot of teams. Oh my God. We missed a great one to talk about here. every team in the NBA has got to be calling the New Orleans Pelicans the worst run franchise in the league currently. Let's recap.
Goodness.
So we're relatively high on the Bucks, even while talking about how little is on the roster right now. If Giannis missed half the season, they're a lottery team, no question, zero question. We knock on wood, we hope that doesn't happen. But they're really bad, I think. The Pelicans to move up 10 spots and take like a 4 or 5 guy who's kind of stuck at neither of them, which is also their current franchise player, mind you, gave up 23 to go up to 13, so move up 10 spots. What it cost to do that? A couple seconds? Future protected first? The best of New Orleans unprotected 2026 first and Milwaukee's 2026 first. Milwaukee gets the other one. What? Are they aware of the Western Conference? And mind if you missed this, the front office is the dynamic tag team of Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver. This is a nightmare for the Pels fans.
When they got hired, I was like, "This why?"
I forgot about it until the draft.
I was like, we talked about this, and we were like, "What are the Pelicans doing? Like, what have they seen? Did they want to replicate the last 5 years of Detroit basketball? Does that entice you?"
It might be worse
and
than
they're
that.
Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. That pick could be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I think as good of odds as any other pick, just because you get the double upside. Again, I don't think the Bucks will be in the lottery. They could. I mean, there's one bad break.
There's a disaster scenario where the Bucks are.
There's probably 2 of them, right? An injury one, and does Shams' trade ever actually happen? Because obviously, if the Bucks lost Giannis, it's going to be real uphill sledding fast. I don't think either of those things will happen. You hope not, but the upside of just being New Orleans, who, I mean, some talented players here, really bad fits for the most part in a really hard West, and none of them can stay healthy, or Milwaukee. If either one of those picks gets in the lottery and jumps up, do you give it up? And Atlanta, I mean, I love the Porzingis trade. They gave up a bad first to get off Man and bring in Porzingis, which is that's good talent. And then they get this future first to move down 10 spots, which 13 was not a good area. This was a 10-ish player, I think, really high on draft. I'm not a big Derek Queen guy. They got, I forget who they got now. Essengay went to the Bulls, right? They got some wing there. It doesn't really matter. Really nice moves for Atlanta, but I think Sadiq Bey into the trade exception as the 3, now that he's apparently recovered from the ACL. Everyone wants Herb Jones. Maybe you can actually get him. I don't know what prices are anymore for New Orleans. Do they need a stretch 5? They do, right? I mean, they only have Yves Missy. Do you want Brook Lopez? Maybe they'll give you Herb Jones for Brook Lopez. Honestly, I have no idea anymore.
Maybe they'll give you Zion for Brook Lopez. Who knows?
They might want to get rid of Zion. $40 million, it's a little tough. The one, though, I'm highlighting here from last year's series, or 2 years ago now, DeJounte? They just traded for Jordan Poole.
Well, because DeJounte has an Achilles.
Was it? But that was to start last season.
Was it that early?
Yeah, it was he played 1 game, I think. So this is October.
It is January 31st.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, was he hurt to start the year and then he tore it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I misremembered.
So that's why they got Jordan Poole.
That's still a lot of money at point guard, which I guess it would be for the Bucks as well. I apologize for that then, so maybe not DeJounte. Can you go get Poole? I guess they want Poole. Sadiq Bey, though, buy low.
It'd be really funny if they traded for Poole just to trade him to the Bucks.
Wait, we can get Kyle Kuzma?
Hold up here. We want another 4? Who is just, imagine they can start throwing a lineup of Kyle Kuzma, Zion Williamson, Yves Missy, Derek Queen, and freaking,
where is
I don't know.
From? Oh, Michigan, that's right. So I don't know if you've heard this.
Oh, he's going to the Suns.
Good call. Apparently Weaver has a Maryland DMC thing, or DMV thing. Apparently
he's part of Run DMC.
A lot of the players he's acquired over the years have those ties, and I will give you one guess on where Derek Queen grew up.
And went to school.
Yeah. Call the Pels, Jon Horst. Call the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And
see if you can get your pick. I think they have one last pick of theirs.
Did they just
see if you can get that?
They have swap in 27. That's it.
Yeah, see if you can get that back. See if you can get those swaps taken off. And it's like, hey, we'll give you Pat Connaughton. You need guys who don't play the 4 or 5.
Oh no, that's weird that it's
been compounded, hasn't it?
Well, I just don't know why it would be 2 swaps. Whatever.
What do you mean?
1 or 2 more picks. 2 swaps in a row doesn't make sense. Usually it's pick, swap, pick, swap, pick, swap. Doesn't really matter. And to be clear, because I saw some confusion, Atlanta is not in on the swap. New Orleans traded their pick, the swapped pick, to Atlanta. So it's not now a 3-way swap. The Pels just get nothing. The Bucks still get the worst of Pels Bucks.
Yeah.
But now instead
Crazy.
of New Orleans
in a loaded draft, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, so
insane.
Starting 5 is Poole, Jones, Murray, Zion, Eves, Missy. I mean, like, is there some talent there? Yes, but the West.
In the West, no.
Like, I think the Mavs are just going to actually be a legit playoff team in year 1 of Cooper.
I think so. I think they're set up for success,
especially if Kyrie gets back like halfway through the year.
Yeah, it's like they did not deserve this luck whatsoever, but they got the luck.
Yeah. And Anthony Davis, that center rotation, it's damn good.
Yeah. They re-signed Gafford.
Yeah, I think that was an extension. They extended him right below his extended trade limit, so they could still trade him. I don't think they want to, but they left their option open. So yeah, I think I would hope we see some trades this next week.
Yeah. How about this? Since free agency starts on Monday, at whatever time, because it changes.
I think it's 5 or 6 Central. I will look that up while you talk.
Sure. What would be a perfect scenario for you see the Bucks in the next coming days?
5 p.m. Central on June 30th, which is indeed Monday. Perfect Bucks scenario in free agency. Deal 1, before it even starts, AJ Green extension and Big Bob opt in and extend. Get those done. Don't even have to worry about it in the craziness of free agency. So we've got our center and we've got a guard who either starts or is like your top guard off the bench in Green. Right as it opens, Gary Trent Jr., part of the MLE. And then, let's see. Rollins early on with the early bird rights. Sims with the early bird rights. I'm with you on those 2. And then I'm going to go with my guy Amir Coffey in the biannual.
There you go.
And he's like fighting for minutes at the 3. And then Kuzma traded for Sexton and some stuff. So then you have Sexton, Trent, Coffey, or Prince, or Ajax, or AJ Green. Like, I don't know, throw them all out there and see what combos work. Giannis Portis with like some good depth in Sims. Rollins as your bench point guard, I think is good. I think that's probably more comfortable as much as I like him than starting him. That's my preference. Find someone to slot in ahead of Rollins or at least compete with Rollins.
Yeah. And I would say my ideal is extend AJ Green, like you were saying. Bobby opts in or is extended or whatever.
Or just resigns.
Or resigns. Gary Trent on not the full MLE. You get Ryan Rollins, you have Jericho Sims. Brooke Lopez signs with another team.
Oh yeah.
Thanasis Antetokounmpo resigns with the Milwaukee Bucks.
For TA. What if TA pushes Bogoljub to be a stash? How does that land on the Rohan happiness meter?
I'll take Thanasis any day of the week.
Sorry, I cut you off. Did you already say like Sims, Rollins, all them?
Yeah, Sims, Rollins, and then you sign Tyus Jones. More realistic than Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think we're too late on Gary Harris now. I always liked him, but now he's 32. 30 as well. Sorry, 30 years old. Not that old, but Bruce Brown at 28. I just almost like a point guard option to me because I don't need the 2 guards. I guess he signs up to the 3. I mean, he's not big.
No, he's ideally plays as like a 5, which is crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to see a trade. I bought the Kuzma stock. This was a controversial take of mine this week. I think he'd look better next year with more athleticism and space around him. But I would prefer his salary goes out for a guard. Or if the Bulls do want to keep their other point guard we mentioned, and Giddey. Pat Connaughton and like a protected pick for Kobe White would also excite me quite a bit. I think he's just good.
Yeah. And which is why I don't think that's going to get it done.
It's the Bulls.
That's true. That is true.
Maybe there's your Lopez sign and trade for Kobe White.
I'd take that. I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. No question.
But I think we just prioritize point guards. We prioritize changing up this team and keeping most of your guys who worked. It worked with Trent. It worked with Sims. It worked with Bob.
Yeah.
Keep going with what works.
Yeah. I think, and it worked enough with KPJ and Rollins, but I think we're both hesitant of a little bit of both of them. Would prefer to keep one and then add a more reliable option.
Correct. And it works because it's like if you don't re-sign Kevin Porter Jr., your scoring guy off the bench is Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Works better. Hopefully. There's a huge Doc Rivers factor to consider.
You just got to make the roster a certain way for him.
Yeah. But that it's like if you have these guys, he's going to start like Ajax, Giannis, Jericho Sims, Kuz, and Giannis.
Prince. You said Giannis twice. Prince is the other one.
Oh. No, not Prince. Prince is gone in this scenario.
Okay.
So you would start Ajax, Kuzma, Giannis, Sims, Bob.
If they could start two Giannis's, they'd really be cooking. They should look into. I guess that's the Thanasis appeal.
Oh yeah,
basically
and that's
second
like
the
Giannis. 17 years from now. Let's see what Liam's up to.
Yeah, and then you'll have like one every year after that too. That draft after draft in the 2040s is just going to be another Antetokounmpo, which I'm fine with. Got us a title. And 2 titles. One NBA championship, one NBA Cup championship. So
far, he's hung 2 banners so far. But yeah, free agency starts on Monday. We'll have you covered for all things, whatever the Bucks do. It's probably going to end up being multiple pods. We'll probably have a day one reaction, and then we'll see if things trickle in. But we'll have you covered as we always do here on the Eurostep. But yeah, appreciate you listening to this primer. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you're listening to this, whether it's on your podcast platform of choice or watching on YouTube. Leave a 5-star rating and review if you're listening to audio, and leave a like, subscribe on YouTube.
Tell your friends.
Check out GSP. Yeah,
it helps.
Yeah, no, I agree. Tell your friends and tell your family.
Yeah,
tell people you don't know. Just go up to some person on the street and say, hey, have you started listening to the Euro stuff yet? They're going to be like, what do you mean? Actually, no, they're going to be like, yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm already a listener.
What a stupid question. Of course I do.
But just in that weird scenario in which they're not, this random person, you should say, yeah, just start listening.
We need a street team. We need a street team. Just go around like, hey, Euro stuff.
Hey, you're not even like, hey, listen to this podcast. Just say, hey, you're
that's how you really get it moving. A little mystery. It really gets people going.
Eurostep.
Hey, Eurostep. That's the move.
Maybe we should specify podcast in there, because otherwise you're just going to be watching highlights.
Or it'll be like the Greek restaurant.
Yeah.
Eurostep podcast. Good call.
Yeah. Hey, Eurostep podcast.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, yeah, I know what that is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, tell people about it. Check out gspn.info for all of our links. Pod random. Talk to you next time.